It's just about 76 and a half years since we attained our independence. And I think it's very important to look for a minute at what our country was like at the time of independence, 1947, when we managed to drive out the British who had been here for 200 years. It was a poor country. It was a country that was steeped into poverty, steeped into illiteracy of the worst kind. We had no resources. We had nothing to build on. That was a year when India did not have any production whatsoever, not even a safety pin. Nothing was produced in this country. We did not have enough educated people in the country. We did not have too many educational institutions to boast of. But what did we do? We had people in this country who said, no, we shall build this nation. And we were very lucky to have these very tall leaders who were all dedicated to building this country. And what did we do? We transformed the nation in less than a quarter of a century. A country that did not produce even safety pins and alpins started producing so much, so much. We went through at least 8 or 10 revolutions, and I'm going to name one of these, some of these revolutions, which are all knowledge-based revolution. In science and technology, we went on to produce the world's third largest manpower in science and technology. It was not easy. From a country that was that had not enough food to feed its people, we had green revolution, and we became a food surplus country. We went on to have white revolution. We became the biggest producer of milk in the world. And farmers and milk producers came together, made cooperatives, and we had white revolution. We had information technology revolution. The world looked up to India for the kind of people we made that took information technology forward. Then we had space revolution. Space revolution, remember, a country that did not make pins 30 years ago started building its own satellites, started launching rockets, started doing it for other developed countries. How much it takes to build a nation from zero to where we had gone. We had a DNA technology. We were on the verge. In fact, I worked with CCMB, it was mentioned, we had said that India can become one of the first countries to sequence the entire human genome. On what basis did we say this? Because we had the people, we had the technology, we had the knowledge, we had the know-how. There was defense. We did extremely well with regard to defense. Institution building. Just imagine, name another country in the world that has had the kind of institutions that we built from ground. Then we had drug revolution. In fact, not too far away, maybe 250 kilometers away, Hyderabad became the drug capital, bulk drug capital of India, and one of the most important places that made drug revolution possible, making India the cheapest manufacturers of drugs in the world. Drugs meaning medicines. And we grew a lot of infrastructure. So you can see the graph from zero in 1947 to where we grew by the time it was 1975, 1980, a max of 1990. We've had a tremendous amount of social assets. And we must remember what our social assets are. Because it's very easy for us to get bogged down by saying, oh, it's a very poor country, it's a very, what do you call it, a country with large numbers of people who are uneducated, it's a dirty country and all that. No. Please remember that we have had a lot of social assets. Firstly, we have an ancient culture, we have tremendous history behind us, and the variety, the mind-boggling variety, whether it is people, clothes, food, architecture, dances, music, the land resources that we have. Every kind of variety that India has, I don't think you'll have another country with this kind of variety and diversity. Just human diversity, take for instance, languages, clothes we wear, our food, etc. I don't have to mention arts, handicrafts, music, etc. We've had tremendous value system, hospitality, and we've been the largest democracy in the world. And this democracy had its roots in a robust constitution that guaranteed our rights to citizens and provided the blueprint to run this country. Having said this, we've had our problems too. It's not as if previous governments have been able to solve all of our problems. No, we've had a lot of problems. We had problems with governance, education, water, power, corruption, healthcare, all kinds of problems we've had. But as we went ahead, as we took this country ahead, we had our eyes on the problems. Not all problems can be solved altogether. They have to be prioritized. You have to have your eyes on what your main problems are, solve them one after the other. And we were chugging along, looking forward, going ahead. But today, 76 years later, I think the time has come when we have to look and see where has this country that began to demand respect of the world, that was looking up as a power to reckon with, where has this nation been taken? Are our problems, are our eyes, our focus on the problems that we have? Or are we sidelining these problems, distracting the attention of our citizens and getting them mired in all kinds of unnecessary arguments and distractions? I think that is something that we need to look at today. What has become a country of such diversity, where people knew how to live together. Imagine every religion that you can think of was born in this country. Every religion. But people lived happily, they were tolerant, they knew how to respect each other. Today, I don't think there was ever the kind of communalism in the country that we see today, because we have fanned communalism, we have fanned hatred, we have fanned bigotry. We have begun to teach our people to see as people like us and people like them. Never has there been a time when we have othered people who belong to this country. What has happened in the country? We've been talking about decentralization from so many years, and the effort was going towards decentralization. But today what we see is centralization of power like it has never been. We have seen centralization and getting resources and money, concentrating it in the hands of 2 or 3 business families in the country, which this country has never seen anything like this before. Discrimination, we would have imagined that with all the knowledge that we have gained, with the third highest manpower in science and technology, at least some part of that scientific learning would have gone into our heads and discrimination would have come down. No, not at all. Discrimination, if at all, has gone many steps ahead. Caste system, where is there a place for caste system in the world? Is there any other place in the world where there is a caste system? We should have by now thrown it out. No, we are getting more and more steeped in the caste system. Patriarchy, ask the women sitting here, do we see any degree lessening of patriarchy? No, we are only solidifying it even further now with the help of a ruling party. What are we doing? Are our eyes on the problems that we have? No. What we do is we construct the tallest statues everywhere and we think our problems will be solved. We made a Starama and we think he's going to solve our problems. Where is the next statue going to come from? We take a posturing against China, but our statues are being made by China. So you can imagine. Temple. This mandir, masjid, how long are we going to take this? How long is it going to be the center of debate when young people either do not have jobs or those who have not studied do not have the means to go to schools, to go to colleges, to finish their education? It has become an obsession with our government today as to who eats what. You eat vegetables or you eat meat? If you eat meat, which meat do you eat? Which meat they will allow you to eat and which meat they will not allow you to eat? They will decide who you will fall in love with, who you should love, who you should get married to. The entire debate is whose God is greater. It has to be one country, one party, one prime minister, one God, one language, and one whatnot, and one person who will order you like a fascist. That's where we have come. From where? From the strides of development that I had talked about, where we have brought this country. We have seen what has happened to Bilkis Banu's rape. How many women in this country feel safe today? We don't feel any safer than we did before. In fact, we feel less safe today because we know that there is no one to hear. Who do you go and say? We know that entire system has crumbled down. We know what happened with Bilkis Banu, who fought her battle for 20 years. She was raped, gang raped, her mother was raped, her sister was raped, she saw 20 members of her family die, she was pregnant, she'd lost her child, her 2-year-old child was hit against a wall and the child died. That girl didn't give up. She fought her battle for 20 years against all odds, against every kind of threat. What happened? Yes, after a long battle, those perpetrators were sent to jail. The same guys who have had the temerity to speak on record that yes, we did it. They beat their chest and said, yes, we did it and we'll do it more. They were sent to prison. What happened? The court, first the court said they don't have to. They didn't do any crime. Then they were sent to prison. They came out. Our ministers, those very people who this country has voted to power, went with flowers and sweets to welcome them. Those are the kinds of leaders that we have elected. Remember that, because I will come back to this point again. The girl continues her battle. It goes to Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court says, enough is enough. Send these guys back to jail. They're sent back. And you know what the latest is? One of the biggest perpetrators of that crime is out within 1 week on parole. Look at the other scenario. We have academicians, we have professors of history, we have writers, we have activists, we have intellectuals, all in jail for the last many years. And there is no way, we don't see how these people are going to come out. That is the dangerous situation that we are in this country. There are godmen who've raped, they've been sent into jail, prison, but every time elections, every time you need some rent a riot, you want to create a problem somewhere, they come out on parole. They do their job, they are sent back. That's the country that we live in today, and I think we need to be worried about this. We need to be worried that we cannot see a cricket match in peace. We need to be worried that if we don't stand up and say Jai Shri Ram when the cricket match is going on, it was a shame. World Cup, entire world looking at India, and the better team is playing. No, you have to say Jai Shri Ram. You cannot ever willingly, unwillingly, wantingly support another team if India is playing. Who decides this? Who has taken away your freedom? The very people we sent to power. The very people who are now getting ready to come and rule over us for the next 5 years. So ladies and gentlemen, we are really in a very, very difficult situation. But I'd like to ask you one thing. Who do you think is responsible for the situation in the country? Do you think it's only politicians? Only the leaders that we sent up? My answer would be not entirely. We as people are also responsible. We are responsible for this mess as individuals, as citizens of this country. We are responsible as parents because we did not do our duty. We are responsible as teachers who have not done our duty. And I don't mean just you here. There may be exceptions here. But I mean the teaching community, teachers, women, mothers, fathers, individuals, all of us are responsible for what we see, the tremendous assault on our democracy, the way we have let a party come in and demolish the very checks and balances that are required for any country to run, to be governed with some sense of fairness and justice. All the 4 pillars of democracy have been dismantled. The ED, as you know, is being used as a hound dog. If you have the temerity to stand up and ask a question, the ED will be let loose on you. We've seen this happening. What do? Do we leave this? No. It's our country. It's our children's future. It's our own existence. We have to fight it. And somehow, I sometimes feel that somehow people in this country are waiting for a messiah to come from somewhere to fight our battle. It's not going to happen that way. We wouldn't have fought our battle of independence with one messiah. Everyone came in together. Everybody contributed. Everybody fought. And I think that time has come. So let's just see how we failed as parents. Just imagine, what do you teach your children at home? The first thing we teach our children at home is obedience. Whatever I say as your father and mother, you should listen to me. Don't ask questions. If the child asks a question, you will say, I've told you, just do it. So questioning is not allowed in the house. Total obedience. Fascistic tendency, no? Because a child might want to argue, might want to know what the reason is. You have to argue with the child, give your reasons. We do not teach reason. We just clamp it down with authority. Then, in the name of discipline, again, no questions asked. This is discipline, I asked you to do so, do it. So right from little, as children, we start breaking their spirit of inquiry that they are born with, spirit of curiosity that they are born with, the spirit of, reason. Speak to any little child, they are all born very reasonably, and they build on that rationality. But we spoil that, we completely destroy that in our homes. Then what do? As a child is born, the first thing is we thrust a religion on the child. The religion that the child is born to. The child has none of us have had any freedom in choosing our religion. Some of us are lucky. We said we don't want religion. We don't believe, we got out of it. Not everyone's lucky. Which parent tells the child that, okay, you grow up, you learn enough about religion or non-religion, and then you decide whether you want to have a religion, you choose your religion. Nobody ever does that. We thrust it. And having thrust religion, what we do is, we thrust our traditions on them. Just in the name of, traditionally we've done this, so you do that. Ask them. Traditionally we burnt widows on the pyre of their husbands. That's also tradition. We should continue that tradition, no? Yes or no? But that's tradition. Every tradition that we followed needs to be looked at in the light of new information, civilization, in the light of knowledge, experience. Is it required? Is it not required? Has it stood the test of time? Do we throw it? Do we change it? Do we not follow it? But we don't do that. We don't question. Then parents very automatically relay all their biases to their children. These biases could be caste bias, religion bias, language bias, region bias, whatever biases. Everything. My God is better, their God is not so good. Our food is better, our language is better, we are from a superior race. All these biases we put into our children, whether through verbal communication or non-verbal communication, and that goes in. We don't allow our children free thought. We don't allow them to develop their critical faculty. Let me assure you, if you allow a child to question, if you treat a child with rationality, chances are most children will grow up as atheists because they'll ask the right questions. They will not get the answers that satisfy their reason and logic. But we are too scared to do that. So we impose on them what we believe in. Then, what do we teach them as motivation? Money. More money. Do engineering. Do medicine. Look at that chap. He's earning so much. He's got a Mercedes. He's got a house. He's got this. He's got that. Follow that. So our motivation, thank you. Our motivation is only money. The entire definition of success is all based on money, quick fame. We teach them shortcuts. Do you know what? We teach our children corruption in our homes. And I'll tell you how. You've done something wrong? Go to God. Go to Tirupati, put something in the hundi, give your hair and come. God will be satisfied. What is that? Bribery of God. Bribery in this country begins from temples, and we teach that to our children. That's how we teach them corruption. So no amount of saying that don't be corrupt will work, because you are teaching your child exactly how to be corrupt. If God can be corrupt, any of us can be corrupt? No, because we are behaving like God. We have God's sanction to be corrupt. That's what we teach our children. Does anyone teach their child? How many of us teach our children to be good human beings? And you know what a good human being is to be? You don't have to go too far. Just read the preamble of the Constitution. Those 3 or 4 lines, that itself teaches you how to be a good human being. Have we ever told our children, why any religion? Humanism is the best religion. Be a human being. Recognize another person as a human being. No more and no less. We don't do that. We teach them all kinds of shortcuts. You want a visa to America to go to a job? Good shortcut. What? One superstitious thing. Go to Visa Temple. Do you know there's a Visa Temple in Hyderabad? You apply for a visa, go to that temple, go 108 times round and round and round. I have been talking to my American friends. Why do you have an American embassy there, consulate? Just put it in Visa Temple. Visa God is doing everything. He's deciding who to give a visa and who not to give a visa. Who teaches these superstitions? We as adults, we as parents, we as mother and father. How have we failed as mothers? Ask yourself, how do you bring up your son and your daughter? Do you bring them exactly the same way? Chances are, no. You will teach your daughter how to wash your vessel very nicely, make it all very, very, shiny. But you will teach your son how to change a switchboard, how to use a plier, how to repair a plug or a fuse. You will never teach your daughter that. Why? Your daughter doesn't use electricity? She will never face these problems? You'll teach your daughter how to cook. Do you ever teach your son how to cook? How many young people have to live together separately alone? They need to learn cooking. If your daughter needs to learn cooking, then your son needs to learn cooking too. If your son can do without learning cooking, your daughter can also do without learning how to cook. So we begin inequality in our homes. Son can go out in the evening anytime and come back anytime. Daughter, you will keep an eye in the name of safety, in the name of other excuses that you will find. No, no, don't wear this, go. No, no, don't go at that time. No, no, come back at this. She has curfew timing. He has no curfew timing. Who does this? Women. Do you know who are the biggest pushers of patriarchy? Women, mothers. It's strange. They have been the victims of patriarchy. They should be the ones fighting it. No, they will push it on their daughters. And they will teach them how to negotiate their way through patriarchy. Why? Why don't you challenge patriarchy? Then I'll give you just one example. I'm told that at least in Telangana and Andhra, perhaps in the urban areas or maybe the bigger towns, the rituals around menstruation are not as what they used to be. But let me tell you, India is a country that lives in different ages, including the medieval ages, even today. While you can show me that in India, more women have gone up to the highest level of profession than anywhere in the world, I will give you equal number of examples, and many times more, of women who still live in medieval times. And one of that example is the way we treat women when they are menstruating. They're supposed to be dirty. In fact, one of the BJP ministers a few months ago said, no, 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 that's impure, they're dirty. I want to ask that guy, bloody hell, you were born from that dirt. If that dirt did not exist, you would not have come into this world. What you call dirt is what gives life. How many women we have, just women? How many men will stand up and challenge these guys and ask them to shut their trap and not talk anymore? We as women can do one thing. We can teach our children. And there are so many lessons from science. For example, I'll just give you two more examples from science. And one thing about science is, science grows brick by brick over the work of the shoulders of giants, right? And every time you have new knowledge, society must absorb that knowledge. Only then progress can happen. Now you know, in our country, infertility is becoming a big problem. What is infertility? When people get married, they live like a couple, they don't have children for no matter, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever. For some reason, they do not have children. That's called infertility. They are unable to produce children. Now, ask any infertility specialist and they will tell you that only 20% cases are idiopathic cases. That means we don't know what the reason is. Nobody knows. But out of 80% cases, 50% infertility reasons are because of female issues. 50% cases are because of male issues. Now, you ask any girl, married, 5, 6 years, 10 years, no children, what she faces from her in-laws. Because it is her, somehow she is to be blamed that she has no child. It is not the son's problem. Nobody wants to know. We as mothers should teach our children, hey listen, we don't know whether you'll have a child or not, but for some reason if you don't, somebody tells you are responsible, please tell them, take your son to the hospital and get him also checked. He could be the reason for infertility, not me. We don't teach that. Then, we have this big liking for male children, especially in the north. I know it happens in the south as well. I know it happens in Tamil Nadu a lot. There's female feticide. Because as soon as they know that the child going to be born is a girl, they will have that god. Now, you know what? The government noticed that there are a large number of missing girls, meaning when they took census. Now, so this government has stopped taking census only because they don't know what genie will come out of that bottle. They don't want to take census. No census was taken. But when census was taken, they found that there were far lesser girls than boys. Normally, it should be about equal. And they found that these girls are not being allowed to be born. If they are born immediately after birth, they are killed, or they are killed even before they are born. Why? Because we want a son. Again, it's linked to dowry, it is linked to your wealth, it is linked to all kinds of social practices that we have. Now, the woman, first child girl somehow is tolerated. Second child girl is very angry. Third child girl, finish, her life is over. We have to teach our girls that, listen, the sex of the child, of the fetus, is not decided by anybody, neither the girl nor the boy. But the sex of the child is decided by the sperm and not by the egg. Because the chromosome, the sex-linked chromosome, comes from the man. So if at all there is blame to be apportioned, it is not to the girl, blame the man. Because the sex of the child has come from the sperm. But we don't learn these things from science. We talk so much about discrimination. We talk about color. We have obsession with fair color because we somehow think dark color is inferior. India, not the world. The world doesn't care. India. That's why Fair and Lovely makes so much money. Now they have Fair and Lovely for men also, not just women. Fair and Lovely for men, Fair and Lovely for women. Science tells us that in the entire world, after the human genome was, sequenced, they found that no matter where you come from, you could be Chinese, Indian, American, Caucasian, doesn't matter who you are, all of us share 99.9% of our DNA. It's the same. The difference that you see in color, eye color, hair color, nose shape, all of this, the Mongolian features or whatever, the African features, all that diversity comes from just 0.1%, a 0.01% difference in the genome. There's so much to learn from this. That means you are not extra bright because you're fair colored. You are not supposed to be entitled or extra advantageous because you come from a certain race. Forget about caste. Caste is a construct, and only here, nobody else in the world ever believes that. But we link so much to it, but we don't learn from what science is teaching us. There is not a single biochemical assay from which you would say, if I mix up the blood from different colors, different caste, different religion people here, there's no assay which will be able to show you what is the difference between one and the other. So a simple thing is, do we teach our children that, listen, this kind of discrimination in religion, hatred over religion does not matter. Because tomorrow, when you come back from school or college and you see a little child drowning in a pond and you can swim, you're not going to stand and ask what religion is to which religion does the child belong. It is your humanity that will make you jump into the water and save the child if you can. We are born with it, but we are destroying it. How can we preserve this? This is something that we need to teach our children, and it starts from home. If we don't, I'd like to tell all our mothers around, it's not too far from now that you will have Manu resurrected in this society once again. Do we want that to happen? You don't know what Manu said. A woman belongs to her father till she's married. After she's married, she belongs to her husband. And after husband dies, she belongs to her son. Which means what? Zero-sum freedom. A woman cannot ever be free. a man always has to be in charge of her. Do we want that kind of a situation again? We are very close to it. We are very close to it. And we need to guard this. Who's going to guard? As I said, no Messiah. We'll have to do it ourselves. Now, how have we failed as individuals? We are somehow very aware of our rights, although we don't get most of our rights, and whatever rights we used to have, half of them have been taken away, including the right to speak out, speak the truth, ask a question. But generally, we are aware of our rights, but we never ever bother to look at our responsibility. How many of us talk about responsibility as citizens? We don't. Do you know what our biggest duty as a citizen is? It's Article 51AH in the Constitution. Scientific temper. To inculcate scientific temper. To be rational human beings. And what is it to inculcate scientific temper? To say that human problems can be solved only through human intervention. There is no supernatural power that will come down to help you or help you from them. You will have to do it yourself. It is the belief that it's a philosophy of science that you come to a conclusion based on evidence and experiment. So we are supposed to be citizens with scientific temper. We have zero scientific temper, because in this very state we had a chief minister who refused to go into a secretariat because the vastu of the secretariat was bad. A new secretariat was made, and before he could go into the new secretariat, he lost his chief ministership. What do you say? He did yagna 5 days, 6 days in this farm for rains. All of us sat and watched. What did we do? We did nothing. Scientific temper. These are people we send up. And what happened? He was trying to bring rains. He brought fire to his farm. There was a big, massive fire in his farm, if you all remember. So that's what we do with scientific temper. And again, we have failed as individuals. Today, we spend so much time on social media, whether it is Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever. There's WhatsApp University. We simply follow WhatsApp University, whatever it teaches. We have forgotten to use our common sense to see, is it fake news? Does it even sound okay? Can we find out whether this is true? No. No need. WhatsApp University. And the Vice Chancellor of WhatsApp University, you know who he is. The one who said India knew how to transplant heads. He went to, the Vice Chancellor of WhatsApp University, went to an Indian Science Congress and told scientists, oh, this is ancient technology. Our people were very good. We knew how to transplant heads. That's how you have Ganesha. Ganesha's head was removed, elephant head was put there. That's a proof that we knew transplantation. One story from Mahabharata they picked up, which is a good story. Interesting, entertaining story, but story, mythology. He picks up and says that is proof that we knew cloning. Now, we have people who believe all of this. Okay, it has come from the Vishwaguru's mouth. He can't be wrong. So we have to accept it. Now, we as individuals need to fight this. If we don't believe it, we need to talk to a people. Our circle of influence is enough for us to work there and to say, don't believe this crap and nonsense. This is the way that you use your head, your rationality. This is the way you go out. This is the way you sieve fake news from real news. But we have failed. We have failed as far as humanism is concerned, I've already told you. And now I come down to something that I must apologize. You as teachers may not like it, but if you were to make exceptions of yourself, there are a large number of teachers in this country, and I think our teachers also have failed tremendously. And I'll tell you how. You heard the previous speaker say that, adversity has to be turned into opportunity. You are the people who make future generations. You are the people who train minds. You have your classroom. You have that little circle of influence, that little time with you when you can make magic. And we need to do that. Unfortunately, that has not happened in this country. I would like to ask you all, in how many classes we teach science, right? We have produced so many engineers. In how many classes do we teach what the method of science is? What is the method that science uses which makes science, scientific facts, stand the test of time, which makes it objective? What is it? 4 steps. First is keen observation, and based on that observation, the first step is questioning. What is your question? 2, build hypothesis. What's hypothesis? You build various scenarios, various explanations. 3rd, experimentation. You experiment and you don't want to prove it right, you prove it wrong. Whatever last remains that you can't prove it wrong takes you to the 4th step, which is answer. Simple. And this is a method that you can use to solve your daily problems, not just in classroom. But how do we teach science? We will teach science as chemistry, physics, biology, etc. And we will not show them the relevance to their daily lives, to everything that they are surrounded with. But no, actually science is a method. The first thing is the philosophy, the method with which you use your common sense, you go through your daily lives, you be a rational human being. We don't. And I'm not saying this, I'm not speaking through my hat. I've spoken to a large number of engineers and doctors, highly paid people today, because we have made fodder for the corporate industry, you see. They know their engineering equations. Ask them what the spirit of science is. Ask them what scientific temper is. Ask them what the method of science is. Nobody will be able to tell you. No one. Because we don't teach them. We don't teach them how to be an ethical person from through our own conscience. We don't teach them that, you don't rob because God is watching you. You don't rob because you will not allow yourself to steal something. What is the use? If someone's not watching you, you'll still be a thief, no? So that moral compass, your own conscience that makes you be a good person, we have somehow failed to teach that. And so this no clear thinking, no rationality, no open-mindedness, no amenability to reason, and therefore they don't know problem solving. Now, having said all of this, I think we as individuals also in our personal capacity, as I said, have failed because we don't take our duties seriously. We are not kind, we are not considerate. We want a separate rule for ourselves and separate rule for everyone else. Now, if all of you want to make yourselves exception on the road, everyone will be an exception. There will be no traffic rules. But why do we have rules? Because we live in a society. We need everyone to be able to live in peace. But no, we don't want to do that. So these are things that we need to look at and see what is it that we can do, what is it that we can learn from science, what is it that where we need to stand up and fight for ourselves and not wait for a Messiah to come and fight our battles. It's going to be a hard time, but it has to be done, because otherwise the future is bleak. And we as individuals need to be fighting every sense of superstition. And let me remind you, friends, it's not too long ago, just when the pandemic happened, we had a whole nation come out on the balconies and do Bajao Thali. Why? because Vishwaguru said, Bajao Thali. We had ministers come and say, go Corona, go Corona, go. And people did that. We made a mockery of ourselves. We don't call them out because we are scared. And the more scared you become, the more fear they will instill in you. Why do you think they sent ED? Why do you think they sent people to the jail? Because they are showing you an example. We did that to him. We'll do to you also. You want to open your mouth? No. If all of us open our mouth, all of us say, how many jails will they fill? We need to stand up and fight. We need to do it for our own lives. We need to do it for our children. We need to do it for our future generation. And we need to do this for our country. So ladies and gentlemen, this is not just about women. Patriarchy is evil. Inequality is evil. Not looking at the 50% of your population as equal is evil. Unless we fight it from within, unless we fight it in our own families, unless we practice this in our own lives, just standing up and making a noise will not do. With the day you start doing this, your students, whether you speak to them or not, they are going to follow you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my experience.